And the people behind MatchingDonors.com had the makings of another success story. Who are they? Two Boston guys, Jeremy Lowney, a doctor and internist, and Paul Dooley, an entrepreneur who runs some other unrelated websites, whose father had died waiting for a kidney transplant.
When we sat down to make the site, we said no one is going to sign up as a donor. We're going to have a lot of patients, and we'll have absolutely no donors.
But they were wrong about that.
New tonight at 10, a first in the world of transplants, and it involves a Colorado man.
We're perfect strangers until we met last week.
Bob Hickey was the first ever recipient of a kidney donated through Matching Donors. He had also been on the official waiting list for years. Then he saw a newspaper story.
And I was convinced this MatchingDonors.com was a scam.
It looked like a crazy idea.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did dialysis for 2 more days, and I picked it up again. I decided after about a week, well, I'll spend $295. Let's see what happens. And so they put me on the internet, and within 24 hours, I began to get offers.
In fact, he got something like 35 offers of kidneys. One of them, donated by Rob Smitty from Tennessee, gave Hickey his life back.
Now you've got the kidney. How are you feeling now?
Oh, I feel great.
I mean, it's total recovery?
Yeah, it really is.
And that's how it would turn out also for Karen Traxler. This summer, she headed for Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago with Susan Buonsante, who would give Karen one of her kidneys. But back before all this, in that conversation with the two of them, I kept wondering this about Susan.
I mean, all of that's going to bear on your family. You're not the only one going through this. They are, too.
Mm-hmm.
And what about that?
My kids were very, supportive, I guess you would say, as much as they can be, really. You know, they don't understand the whole thing, but we've talked quite a bit about it.
But how about people in your life who do understand? Brothers, sisters, parents?
Yeah, they're not...
Not into it?
Not real happy about it, no.
Oh, come on. That's easy. Shoot. 5 letters.
But she went ahead and did it. And now, she wrote us in a recent email, she feels great. I just did a backpacking trip last weekend, she wrote, 25 miles round trip. 1 kidney did nothing to slow me down. Simple and obvious. Except the medical establishment, as we shall see, disagrees with almost everything Karen and Susan have done.
You're not a waking up kisser, are you?
There is a match made in heaven quality to this story of Karen Traxler, who now has a healthy kidney, and Susan Buonsante, who gave Traxler that kidney and feels great about herself for doing so. A happily ever after quality. But we left out part of the story, how when they started calling hospitals to schedule the transplant operation, no one would take them.
And I would start off, my name is Karen Traxler, and I'm looking for a hospital that will accept my donor that I've met online. And, is this something you'll accept? And almost everybody said no.
Bob Hickey met with a similar reaction. On the very morning of his operation, the surgeon learned for the first time from the news that his patient had met his donor on the internet.
When my donor and I were sitting outside the operating room with the IVs running in our arms on October 18th, 2004, I was absolutely stunned when this surgeon came. He didn't approach me. He accosted me, waving a newspaper in my face, saying that if you think I'm going to do a transplant on you today, you got another thought coming.
Well, this unique transplant situation we find ourselves in today here has sparked a huge debate about who should receive donor organs and how.
Without knowing it, Hickey and his donor and Traxler and hers, they had crossed an ethical boundary line, violated what the medical establishment upholds as one of the most important values in the field of transplant medicine. Call it the rule of the list. And it's this. There are almost 64,000 Americans on a waiting list for kidney transplants. But last year, only a quarter that number of kidneys was available, thanks mostly to the recently deceased who had signed one of those organ donor cards. An organization called UNOS, the United Network for Organ Sharing, sets the rules, and basically they say available kidneys go to those who have waited longest on the list and who are the best match. That's the rule of the list. Simple. And UNOS believes fair.
The claims made by MatchingDonors.com are unverified and in many cases misleading.
And so deeply ingrained is this particular ethic that at a conference held at Harvard this year, Dr. Douglas Hanto didn't even try to sound diplomatic when he said what he thought of the website, MatchingDonors.com, that lets people bypass the list.
So from my point of view, the tactics of the organization are disreputable.
An attack that, to Matching Donors founders, just means the establishment does not understand how much good the website is doing.
They just can't understand why someone would want to give a piece of themselves to somebody else for no other reason.
Can you understand it? I mean, really, do you understand these people?
Yeah, I can. I can understand it now.
But that misses entirely what Hanto and his colleagues in transplant medicine are upset about. Hanto himself is a first-rate surgeon, nationally recognized. He used to chair the ethics committee of the American Society of Transplant Surgeons.
We want a system that takes a scarce resource and uses it to the best ability that we can in a way that is the fairest to everyone.
And what Matching Donors reminds him of, a story that anyone who ever studied medical ethics knows about, the Seattle dialysis scandal. It was the 1960s, and in Seattle, there were not enough dialysis machines to meet the needs. So patients had to go before a board and beg for dialysis time on the basis of their own usefulness to society, which meant what exactly? Did a lawyer outrank a firefighter? Did a retired stockbroker outrank a working cashier? Remember, dialysis is life or death, and Seattle's solution was a travesty. The medical field never forgot the lesson. When resources are scarce, the system has to be blind to who people are and determine who goes first by medical criteria. Is that rule always observed? No. Brothers can give kidneys to brothers, for example, wherever they may fall on the waiting list. But mostly it works, Hanto argues, and he thinks Matching Donors threatens, as Seattle did, to create the wrong set of reasons for giving and getting organs.
The two things that make me the most concerned are the fact that the donor is choosing the recipient not based on medical need, and that they are choosing them based on a picture or a personal story.
In other words, if we look at all of those faces again, Hanto argues that Matching Donors matches donors with people they find sympathetic or attractive or just like themselves in some way. But where does that leave, say, the unattractive, the unlikable?
What if you had met Karen and you just didn't like something about her that day?
I suppose if we didn't hit it off, then I probably wouldn't be here.
I find that a problem, because I think that is what we're concerned about, is that they're going to pick someone who's like them rather than the person who needs the organ. So they may, I don't know if you asked the question, what if she had been, would she have gone to the website if there weren't any other white women like her?
And it is still fundamentally troubling at some level that strangers would do this for strangers. Even Bob Hickey doesn't quite get it.
I've asked myself the question, if the tables had been turned, would I have done the same thing? And
the honest answer
is no. I would not have done it.
But it is happening, even if we have yet to figure out what the rules should be. I'm John Donvan for Nightline in Washington.